Maybe it's fear of missing out. Maybe there's a higher being that we're all tapping into, this art of meditation. And it's only when you allow yourself time to really connect with somebody or get to know somebody that you're really going to learn anything.
Yeah, I mean, I love connecting with other people. Just step outside your comfort zone, get yourself out there and learn what other people do and just absorb what they do and just take the best out of it.
May I have your attention, please?
Greetings, Accounting High. Alex Miles here, bringing you your morning announcements. In today's episode, Scott is joined by independent world traveler and the CEO and founder of Soaring Falcon Accountancy, Alex Falcon. Alex opens up about how she found accounting to be the right fit for her and her life, as well as how she's grown and maintained a successful accounting firm and outsourcing company, all while traveling the world. This episode is sure to motivate us all to get a little comfortable with doing more things that make us a little uncomfortable. So sit back, relax, and open your mind because class is in session.
I repeat, may I have your attention, please?
This is another public service announcement brought to you in part
by Accounting High.
The views and events expressed here are
of the next generation of accounting and tech professionals leading this space.
The events and suggestions are not to be taken lightly. Children should not partake in the listening
of this podcast.
Anything else?
Yeah.
So without further ado, introducing the star of our show,
Scott Scarano.
We're gonna have a problem here.
Solo episode and a very special guest. We've got Alex Falcon-Huerta.
Yeah, nice.
Is that how I pronounce the last one? Huerta?
Perfect.
Soaring Falcon. Alex, you're doing some amazing things over there across the pond, and I want to really get into all of that. But first, let's start with why accounting? Why are you in this industry of all things?
I know. Tell me about it. I think if I go back all the way to being in school, I remember the careers advisor saying to me, if you want to be successful in running a business or be an entrepreneur, basically, if you learn about finances and you learn, to be a qualified accountant, then you're going to save yourself loads of money. And also, I used to think, wow, like what kind of trade work can a female do? Because back then, I suppose you couldn't really go into, bricklaying or things like that. It wasn't really seen as like a female role. And so when I looked into accounting, I thought, wow, this is actually something that I can see myself doing. And I really loved learning about business and how they run. And so learning about finances, I knew that essentially from the careers advisor that it would, would be like more likely to be successful than not understanding about finances. So it started there.
So not the stereotypical female that knows nothing of the checkbook and the mail handles all of that. You're a very independent woman. You have traveled the world alone, and I think that's admirable. I could never I can't do too many things alone. I always have to be with somebody. It's like I feel like I've taken the role of the person that wants to just be tagged along. I don't even want to do that stuff anymore. But for you, like you're kind of known for that, or at least since I've known you, and I haven't known you for too long, but I feel like I've known you my whole life, right? Like you've traveled the world. You've been to Bali. You've been on these meditation retreats. I'm fascinated by all that. Where did you get your independence from, or where did you get that gusto or drive to do that?
Yeah, I guess, again, like this comes back to, what a lot of people have their drive and passion from. Sometimes it doesn't come from a good place. So for me, like it came from spending time with my mum and her coming from Spain. She came over to the UK and she just basically told me about all these things that she didn't have. She didn't have the opportunities that we had. She didn't have the options to travel. She didn't have an education. And so her thing behind what she used to teach us was, we've got this opportunity. We can do all the things that we want to do. Like we almost lived in Peru because I'm actually half Peruvian. And so when we went over to Peru as babies, my mum recognized that she didn't have the freedom over there like they do in the UK. So she brought us all back to the UK and recognized that we've got so much more opportunities. And she pushed that onto me from a really young age to say, if this is what you want to do, then just go and do it and just take action. And so everything and all my decisions that I make is I say, right, this is what I would like to do. This is what I would enjoy doing. And therefore, I now need to put that into place and to take action. And so I shouldn't revolve my life around doing things because somebody else can't do it with me, that I should be prepared. And even if I'm fearful of that, I should be comfortable enough to go out of there and actually do it alone, for example. So again, just stepping out of my comfort zones on many, many occasions and just achieving the things that I want to achieve. And I know once I've done it, I feel proud within myself that I've been able to do it. And then usually 99% of the time, many opportunities have come from it.
Oh yeah, it's powerful. So, your mom was an independent woman. You've told me before you didn't meet your dad till later in life. So
Right.
she raised you, your brother, alone, right? And so,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's kind of where a lot of your independence stems from, for sure. Tell me a little bit about that experience if you want to share that. Like your dad has probably played a silent role in your life, I'm sure, like just in your personality or things like that. Did you notice any similarities when you did meet him with you or your brother?
Yeah, so there are three of us. So I've got two brothers and
Three.
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I knew obviously my dad when I was like a baby, and I'd never physically met him. So when I was 26, I took the opportunity to actually go and meet him for the first time. So I flew out to Peru. I think I couldn't really afford the flight at the time. And so I took a loan and felt like I needed to connect to my family. I met him for the first time, but what I recognized was he'd remarried and had children, or had a child at the time. And I saw like the similar traits, like the similar like movements, the hand movements, the face, like the gestures, like there was so many things. And I was like, wow, we're not even like, we don't live together, but I can see the things that he does. And I'm like, wow, that's what my brother does. And it was really weird for me that I can see these
That's
traits in these
fascinating, though.
people. And I was like, it just really blew my mind because I was so used to living with my mum and my two brothers and not having like family members around because they either lived in Spain or Peru. So it was weird. Like it was really strange experience for me. I know it's normal for a lot of people, but I was like, I don't know, like it was really crazy.
Yeah, it's like a nature versus nurture type thing. So your dad, what was his profession? What does he do in Peru? And have you met him since you went there when you were 26? Have you seen him again, or do you guys keep up now?
Yeah, so actually me and my brother went this year. So we went back out in February 2022. So
cool.
a lot of this stuff stemmed from stuff that I did in Bali with my meditations and things. And we unfortunately lost quite a few members of our family in Peru, about 5 members, like in the space of about a week to COVID, including my half brother, grandma, my uncle and my auntie. So it's actually something that after COVID had kind of settled and we were able to travel, it was one of the first trips was me and my brother wanted to go back out and see our dad and meet him, re-meet him, reconnect and put the past behind us essentially. And, know that going through life, you have these people that come in and I know he's, he's like my father, but he's not being a father as such. I still wanted to understand it a little bit. And I still wanted to know that I've got this person in my life who is my dad and he is alive. I wanted to know more about him as an adult. I say 26, I was an adult, but I wasn't a mature adult. So I didn't really have a good understanding.
Right.
Whereas this
Well,
time
are you a
around,
mature adult now too? Who's a mature?
Well-
How do you determine if you're a mature adult?
well, this is the bit that I'm
That's
still
to be
working out.
debatable, right?
This is true.
Right,
yeah.
right. But you learn
It's
more about
true.
yourself. As you learn more about him, you can learn more about yourself and you can become a better person. You can learn from different things and you don't want to repeat anything either, right? Like if he did anything to, but let's just say, this is part of the COVID impacted you a whole lot, more than a lot of others, but you come out of it stronger, I think. Again, like I didn't know you before, but since I've met you, you're a pretty strong, independent person. You've got a mind of your own when it comes to pretty much anything. And I think that's translated itself into running your own business too, right? So do you find that most of the things you do in life are pretty solo, or have you had, I don't even know how deep I want to go with this, but do you have a lot of close friends, or do you find that you go, you hop from person to person, or, tell me a little bit about that, just to try to relate.
Yeah. So yeah, for sure. Like I would probably say, like at the beginning, I would just pretty much do everything on my own and say that I'm just going to march through. I could do anything. And I had this mindset where it's like, it's just me. But actually, I've had like amazing people around me, amazing mentors. People I guess you attract people around you that you kind of want to aspire to. And well, that's what I've personally done. And I've almost had to do that. My mum passed away 15 years ago. And so I was in a situation where I didn't have a choice, but I just had to kind of move forward with my life. But later on, and learning more, again, once being in business and really, really keeping an eye on what people do around me, I've understood more about, working together with other people, working together in teams, making sure that the people, you can work together so that you can then grow a company. And so over the last couple of years, or mainly this year, I've then set up another company where that's growing really well with other partners, and we've got other businesses like in the pipeline as well, which I'm doing with other people. And so I've actually preferred that than to feel like I'm just running a business by myself. And so again, it has
lonely
been
too.
Yeah, it was at one point it was really lonely, but I created like mentor groups, like accounting groups, like with just women, accounting groups with like startups, and I just realized that all these people are going through the same thing, and then having those groups around me and that support around me. A lot of the people, even before I set up my business, have been my mentors and have helped me through the ups and downs, highs and lows, you name it. But I can understand, like from the beginning, I wanted to just feel like I'm just going to just do it alone. And I just know for a fact now that it's just not possible to just do it on your own. So there has been changes in my self-development, I suppose, from that.
For sure. So, I'd love that you are working with partners now, and you've experienced what that's like too, because some people don't think they could ever work with a partner. They see all the horror stories, they see all the issues that people have had with partners, and the other side of that, especially us accountants, we see that with our clients. I'm sure you've seen it with your clients. So let's kind of dive into you starting your own business first, which is still your firm, right? Mm-hmm. Soaring Falcon is your own accountancy firm in the UK. Tell me a little bit more about that, like when you got started with it and who you serve, all that.
Yeah, so this started back, I actually launched Soaring Falcon in 2015. So it was like cloud, digital, paperless, like 100%, like as much automation as possible. And prior to that, I worked for firms that were quite traditional and were reluctant to move to the cloud. And again, I was in a situation where it was like, what it's like in the UK, right? So it's really dark in the morning in the winter, and it's pitch black at night when you leave the office. And so it's like horrendous in the winter because you wake up at dark, you go to an office, and if it's before cloud, like you're like on
fucking depressing.
Yeah, it's really
depressing as hell.
It's so bad. And I was like, wow, is this my life? Like every day I'm qualified accountant, and this is how I'm going to spend the rest of my life. And I was literally like, I can't do this. Like I need to quit my career. I need to do something about it. And thank God, like it was and like,
that was how many years in? What year did you, so cloud was like started to get there in 2012, 13. I didn't start really diving in until about 2015. So this must have been pretty soon after you started that you questioned what you were doing.
This was like 2009, 10. This was like way before. yeah, it was like way, way before. Like I was like, this is ridiculous. And I remember going to like exhibitions, and I can't remember the exact year, but I know like Zero was just coming out. And I was like, wow, this is going to change my life, literally, because this is how I want to work. And I always saw myself as not being in an office or working 9 to 5, but I still want to do my job that I've been trained in, you know, blood, sweat and tears. Like,
Sure.
I literally like 3 months before my finals, like my mum passed away. So for me to get over that hurdle of like getting to be qualified accountant was like a big thing for me. So as soon as I qualified, I was like, right, this is it now. Like the world is my oyster. And I wasn't prepared to just sit in this office 9 till 5 in the pitch black in winter and think, wow, this is the rest of it. This is me for the rest of my life, for the next, 40, 50 years of working life. I needed to change and do something about it. So, so thank God for the cloud, because, that's allowed me to live my dream life and to have my work-life balance and to create and to do all the things that I actually want to do. Like I've designed my path of how I want to work. And so for me, it's like I get to do all the things that I absolutely love and I'm very passionate about.
So you have had continued evolutions, metamorphosis, changes. You've sought the change out. Some people, are kind of content with the way things are and they want to keep it the same. They see they can make money and they just kind of stand still. You've sought that out because you saw a career that you would learn to resent and dread going to work every day. So you had the foresight to seek out the change, and that could have been exciting. Sometimes it's scary for people. It sounds like it was exciting for you to explore what life could be like. You designed your life around that at an early stage too. So let's lead into, was it Soaring Falcon initially when you started in 2015?
Yeah, so it was just, it was Soaring Falcon in 2015. And I think at the very, very beginning, like I went out to New Zealand and I'd met in a whole load of global partners when in my first trip. I literally went to New Zealand for 6 days just to attend ZeroCon, because I knew, like, again, like I just thought,
awesome.
This is where I'm going to meet the most amazing people and learn about the cloud in a country where they're so advanced compared to the UK. And so I knew that what I understood is if you want to like to innovate,
sure.
So I would know, like, if there was a country or a product that they do it better, it's best to learn from them and then to bring it to the place or the country or the product or the service that you're going to make or deliver.
I always say my journey started at ground zero. Obviously, it kind of did for you too, it sounds like.
Yeah.
That was your ground zero. That was the core. So that must have changed everything. So how did you find out about Zero or this ZeroCon? Was it just in, journals or accountancy journals, like or peers?
I think because we have to do like our continuing professional development, like CPD. And so I went to a conference, I think it was 2020, potentially, I can't remember, so long ago. And and they were exhibiting there. And I just saw like all their demo that they were doing. And I was like, wow, like I remember going back to my boss at the time, putting this whole business plan together, saying this is what we should do. But it was just thrown to one side. So I was like, right, okay, I'll move on and I'll go somewhere where they are interested. And eventually I did learn a little bit more. Yeah, it took me a few more years since then, like to learn a little bit more about business development and sales. And once I had that under my belt and I felt comfortable with, I then, promoted myself to director, CEO, Soaring Falcon.
Yeah. So it's a little bit by default too. You kind of backed your way into it on those that were accepting of this. And Zero nailed it with the branding too. I'm sure that, kind of caught your eye, like just the difference. Like, and I think they've always had the same branding and the same logo, same colors and all that. And that to me was part of it, I think. It imprinted in my head and saw that. So you went to New Zealand, you came back and you said, I'm doing this alone. So this was before you started the firm or after?
It was just literally after. Yeah, it was just literally after. So like I'd already launched it and I'd already met Rod at the time at the conference, a ZeroCon conference. And I remember him saying, like, if you ever have an opportunity to come to New Zealand, you should come. So I was like, when the next ZeroCon? So like, Xerocon that they had in Wellington. I was like, I'm there, I'm coming. So I was like, got my ticket
Wow.
just flew out there, and I'm just super grateful that I did, because I met the most amazing people, spoke to partners, accounting partners. Xero kept me in touch with apps and accounting firms at the time, set up meetings for me, and I was literally just absorbing all of the knowledge, just reaching out to as many people as possible so I can then go back and...
That's an abundant mindset. That's an abundance of information, of peers, of mentors, of colleagues, that I feel like Xero changed a lot of people's mindsets on that too. You may have already been like that, but I think traditionally speaking, a lot of accountants kind of keep to themselves, keep to their own, and hide their knowledge to themselves because that's their power. It's not always been the power of the people and the power of community. And I feel like Xero's changed a lot of people's mindsets on that. That's Rod's mindset. I'd love to have him on one day. That would be so cool. I've never met Rod. I know a lot of people who have met him. I'd never even met him. So that would be awesome. So you come back, you start your firm, and tell me, like, what was some of the big events, I guess, during early days? Did you have any partners? Did you have any employees? Things like that.
Yeah, like from the early days. So it was just myself, and it always has been, like, for whole the time. But in terms of employees, that's always been like a huge challenge. I'm sure for most, because I was at the stage where you just had pretty much traditional accountants. So finding accountants or trainees or whoever with actual digital experience, like, there wasn't any. So asking an accountant to come in and say, guys, by the way, like, we don't print stuff, like, we have screens to look at things. We use, like, over at the time about 40 different applications to run the client stuff and to run the business apps. Like, it was like they literally freaked out. And so, like, it was really hard to then actually either have somebody with accounting experience and knowledge but hated technology, or find junior staff who loved technology but then had zero experience. So I was just like in this catch-22 situation
Zero
where
experience.
Yeah, zero.
No
and
pun
I didn't know
intended.
what to do. Yeah, I honestly didn't know what to do. And I felt really stuck. And I was like, what can I do about this? I ended up speaking to ACCA, like working with them to develop the Level 7 apprenticeship scheme to make sure that they bring in digital, so that even if it's not from me, like, when people set up practices, that they're going to start to have staff that are then going to be tech digital ready. And so they then started partnering with, with Ignition, with Capitalize, with Fathom, with like all these, with Xero and like Dex. Like, they started partnering with all these people, which then, and now when you go to become a qualified accountant, you're learning all the digital stuff. So you're coming out like digital ready. Whereas at the time, like, it wasn't there for me. So I had this like really cool business idea. It was innovative, but I couldn't build it. So it was really frustrating for me. So over the time, like, I was learning processes, understanding, again, watching other people, how they do it. And I'm like, wow, I was like really inspired. And then that's when I decided to launch the Smart Offshore in Sri Lanka, which is like a recent venture.
All right. Yeah, you just kind of slid that into there. I was trying to build up to this. So this is dope. You have your team, and I don't know, don't apologize. This is naturally how it ends up, right? So how did that start? Like, did you go to Sri Lanka? Because, you always hear people outsourcing to India, to Philippines. Those are the pretty big ones, right? Sri Lanka, did you know of somebody that was doing this already? Like, how did that come about?
No. So obviously I tried and tested like Philippines and India, and different like companies, like well-known companies as well.
You trying them out, they're not working. What was it? Like, do you wanted more control over it? What was the issues?
We have this thing like in the UK, and I think other countries notice it, how we work so differently. So if you're like a traditional firm and you outsource it, and that outsource company says, oh, we're going to get back to you like within 3 weeks or 4 weeks, a traditional firm will be like, wow, this is amazing. Like, it's really cool. Like, it's faster than how we worked, because they're probably turning it around within 4 months, 9 months even, within a deadline or on the deadline. But when I had my firm, like, and everything's transparent and real time, and I can get get stuff done like straight away. Like I then needed like a turnaround within a couple of days. And so it was like the culture in the UK, like everything is way more efficient and people just get stuff done or supposed to, or they have an expectation, especially with the clients, and they're tech savvy and like digitalized, and they have this mindset of like, oh, everything needs to be delivered now. And it's quite challenging to meet that expectation. And so, most of the people, like, they have queries and they come to their accountant because they need an answer now, not in 3 weeks' time. So there's a huge delay. And so it was finding that balance of like getting people to really understand the UK culture and how we work and how businesses operate, because we're not working the traditional way where we need past information, like we need future stuff. So we need to know, those business owners need to know and make decisions based on data today. If I give it to them in 3 months or 4 months' time, it's too late.
It's the same anywhere else too. I mean, UK is not that much different from the US as far as need of information. Yet Philippines works for others. Was it the time for you, or was it because time? You're closer there than we are. I'm just trying to see where the rubber meets the road and how you decided to come up with this unique offering.
Yeah, I think like maybe it was the people I used, the company that I used, that potentially wasn't operating in the right way. Then I also found there was constant like weather issues and storm issues, and like I needed to put in like a business continuity plan essentially. So if something was down in the Philippines, what were my options? And hence why, it came on to the next chapter and going on
next
to
chapter.
Yeah. So going on to like all the issues and having a business continuity plan, it's like, what do I need to do? So I can have a look at other countries. I was just getting hounded by this dude on Instagram, like messaging me all the time. And I was like, I kept seeing these messages and I was like, okay, cool. I'll just message him.
Dudes on Instagram. I'm sure you get that all the time. I'm sure you're always getting dudes hounding you on Instagram.
I won't go there on that subject. But yeah, so basically, so this guy was like messaging me and he's going, want to like give you a trial on the finances and accounts. I was like, yeah, cool. I'll tell you what, like he just called me at a time where things were so bad in the Philippines that I was like, okay, cool. Let's just book in a meeting. So I booked in a meeting and we had a chat and, I was like, look, I'll give you a trial.
Slid into your DMs and then you booked a meeting. He got the date. Yeah, he got the date.
He got in. So basically, he got in a meeting and then we were chatting and he seemed really personable, really nice, and gave him some work and they got the work done and, actually worked really differently, and he was like really efficient and they really understood like what I was after. And also the beauty about Sri Lanka is that they also are ACCA qualified, which is a huge thing for me. So they've learned the same standards of work and practice the same as myself. And so I'm obviously ACCA advocate, I'm International Assembly. So it all tied in. And I was like, if I'm going to do anything, it would be with these guys, because they just tick all the boxes that essentially would help me to build something that was going to be more relevant to my client delivery.
So what's ACCA? Is it like AICPA in the US?
Yeah, so it's the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, which is a global, it's a global membership. So it's actually based, like kind of everywhere really in the world. Like CAA and Z, like partners with ACCA, so, and vice versa. And I don't know the equivalent, I don't think, they're not in America, but they are most of the places in the world. And Sri Lanka is one of them. So we hire fully qualified ACCA people and we onboard them with UK knowledge, experience, tech. Like our stack in Sri Lanka is like massive now, because even though I'm like a zero partner, like the accountants who use us, they use loads of different products. So we have to be kind of open to all different ones. I can't just say, I'm going to just use zero.
You said accountants that use us.
Yes.
Right. So you say accountants that use us. So this is your other firm, right? Your other business is outsourcing from Sri Lanka to other accountancy firms. So first, your firm, did you start using this just for your firm to start?
Yes. Yeah.
And
I just started
so
it
your
with us.
firm evolved to the point where, yeah. Okay. So at that point, when you just started with them, relay the size of your firm and what year was this? Was this just last year that you
It was
started doing
like,
this?
yeah, it was just over COVID because basically,
Okay.
like, I had trainees in the business and they just couldn't keep up to date with the workload and the delivery. And so I needed to get qualified people in to understand and deliver, like, bounce back loans and funding and
Well,
everything.
you were
for my
traveling the
clients.
world. You needed somebody to handle that, right? You were at that point too. You were going to Bali. You were Miss World Traveler, Carmen San Diego, almost.
Yeah.
Where in the world is Alex at this point, right?
Yeah, so I was literally getting my head down, working about 15 hours a day over COVID with my clients and my team. It was horrendous. Like, it was one of the most pressured times. And again, like, I was going through personal stuff. So my godmother was diagnosed with terminal cancer. So I was her sole carer and I was taking care of her during that time. So I was like balancing everything. So I needed to get people in. I needed to get people in fast. I needed support. I needed people to help me. So I just did whatever I could at the time to get the right people in. And like Naja and Hassan, like, they were like my
Right.
life saviors. They literally were like, Alex, we're going to get all these people in for you. We're going to help you. And I'll just be forever grateful. So we built up
Oh,
a
so
really
they helped
good...
you. They helped you backload this. Okay.
Yeah. So it
That's
just
awesome.
got
So what were
stronger
their
and
names?
stronger.
Hassan was one of them?
Hassan and Naja. Yeah.
Well, and Naja. Okay. So they basically helped your back office and backfill all the work. So you didn't have to do these 15-hour days. Is that when you started traveling? Is that when you went to Bali?
Yes.
Or did that happen before?
No, it happened. So COVID was like crazy period. So from March time to about December,
Sure.
it was like crazy because I was, like I said, I was taking care of my godmother as well. So it was quite challenging.
Tunneled
and
in.
so, yeah, so it was like really, because she didn't really have long to live. So it was quite important that I spent time with her. And so like Nigel and Hassan were in the background. So it got to the point where I needed space. I needed a break. And it ended up going to Bali in December for Christmas. But actually, I know most people will say like, oh, whatever, Alex, but I literally got stuck out there. I couldn't get home. And they had my passport and I couldn't get it back from immigration. My flights got cancelled. And it was like, I went out there for 10 days for a break and I got stuck out there until mid-February, just really trying to get home.
Not a bad place to get stuck, though.
It was not bad. And to be fair, like I had to do so many things out there that I never imagined I'd have to do. I was like dealing with hospital staff. I was dealing with like my team stuff and like building the team in Sri Lanka at the same time. So it was pretty crazy. And I look back now and I'm like wondering, wow, how did that happen? But actually what it's allowed me to do is when I did come back to the UK, I had like the personal stuff to deal with. I then made plans after that to go back to Bali for like the next 6 months. So I can actually work out there remotely and just like while there was COVID going on, like in the UK, and we weren't able to kind of go out as free as how I wanted to be. So being somewhere like Bali, like I was able to just go to the beach or like be in the fresh air or go to the jungle, so it was definitely something that allowed me to spend my time also to grieve. And so I needed that headspace, especially after COVID. It was, I'm not the only accountant that went through crazy times and back, but it was something that is always going to stick in my mind. Like they were the most challenging times of, I think, any business. And when you're taking care of clients, you have to take care of yourself. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, you sought this change out. You started a new business with some business partners. And obviously, like you've got to maintain your current business and you got to maintain your whole sanity and your mental health. So tell me, were you somebody that meditated a lot and focused on this wellness factor before you went to Bali, or did some of this happen while you were there?
So I used to do a lot of meditations and then it kind of fell apart like years ago. And then when I went to Bali, like it was almost something that they encourage you to do. Like everybody kind of does it. And I'm not saying I follow the crowd, but it was something that when I started to do my meditations and I just found like, it just changed my mindset on pretty much everything. And it's something that I knew that I needed to continue to do to help me get through the days.
So I've been, yeah, definitely. Because I've been meditating now regularly every day for like almost the better part of 3 months. And I did last year, but then I fell off. I've been drawing a lot of correlations between meditation and prayer. I'm not a religious person, but I think that there's a lot of aspects of meditation that are very similar to prayer. You were showing me your meditation beads when we were together at accounting salon, and I see those as rosary beads, almost very similar to rosary beads. I didn't know that meditation. Well, I'm sure I've heard meditation beads, and oh man, so if I was making, if Nicole was here as a co-host, I think she would make jokes about beads. She always does. Every time I say the word beads, she goes in a different direction with that. I'm not going to go there right now, but I was relating them to. I was relating the meditation beads more to a rosary beads, and the way that meditation is you clear your mind and you tap into something greater than you, but it's not God. It's an emptiness. It's space that you don't give yourself. That I don't, and so I'm learning a lot more about myself as I meditate, and I'm also able to handle more things. And so just relating it to that, I feel like, that might have been the biggest thing that you could have gotten out of Bali, not just the sunshine. People go on vacations and they come back and they're the same person. Nothing is that life-changing. They love the time there, but yet they still can't get away from their phone. You were working while you were there, and you're not, it doesn't sound like you're complaining about the aspect of the balance between work and life, because you're always, trying to manage both to the thousandth degree. Like you're going 100 on both directions. I can relate to that a lot. Like I'd run into the direction of fun and play, but and then also work. There's no middle ground for me, at least. Yeah. And I needed that meditation to be able to switch things on and off, and to be able to convert my mind from one to another and be able to do that. So I think that's fascinating. But so going back to that, so Bali changed your life, meditation, you're starting this new business, your firm now, how many clients do you manage?
So we don't have too many clients, actually. We have probably about 100. So again, I'm very quite...
That's a lot. That's a good amount.
Yeah. So very particular with who we take on. So they're very, very niche. So like SaaS clients, creatives, but we do pretty much everything for them, like virtual FDs. So, so we'll handle their payments, their taxes, their books, and we'll do everything. So it's rather than just having like sole traders or one-man bands, like we've got what I call businesses that need our support and value what we do. So again, we just tick the client avatar list, and if everything's happy in terms of relationships and how we can support them, how they can support us, then we'll normally sign them up as a client. So we just kind of keep that client base as lean as possible. And then when they grow, they move on to larger firms, which had happened. We've got some now that are in the audit threshold. We know eventually that they're going to, fly to the next big firm because we're going to be way too small. And that's great. It means we've done our job. And I'm happy that we've been part of their journey.
Oh, yeah. It sounds very similar to my firm. We have 105 clients, and I have a team of 8 people. I guess it's less now because I just had somebody leave. But I have a team of 8 people here, and I would assume that your margins are a hell of a lot better than mine, being that you're the only person in the UK that's working and everybody else is in Sri Lanka. Is that right?
I have Catherine, who's based in the UK. She's my ops manager. Okay. Yeah, so it's just one person. And then, the rest
obviously, she's not cheap. Yeah, obviously she's not cheap, right? So give me some numbers relation. I know we got to convert currencies, but what is your revenue right now, top line in UK? And then I guess I can convert it in my mind from euros.
So you talking about monthly revenue or?
Let's just say whichever one whatever one you track.
Yeah, so it's 30K for the monthly revenue. So that fluctuates because we have like one-off, so that's monthly recurring, but we then get like one-off, like our R&D consultancy on top of that. So for example, if I do conversions, they'll be separated to that. So that's just like our monthly recurring revenue, MRR. I don't know what you guys use.
About 30.
Yeah.
So is it euro?
Like GBP.
It is a bit of a difference there. So let's say, 30, this puts in perspective. So that's good. So you're running almost a $500,000 business by yourself with one operations manager with the rest of everybody in Sri Lanka. What's the ratio of pay? Is it about half of what you would pay somebody in the UK? Is it a third? Is it a fourth?
It's like a fourth. So, like the salaries, like they're scaling so high because of like even after COVID, they've gone crazy prices. Yeah, like I think like a qualified accountant, like 60, 70K, or they could start from about 50 as a qualified. So to hire somebody in Sri Lanka is like maybe a quarter of that, for example. So I would only be able to get, say, one staff in the UK as equivalent to like the 4 in Sri Lanka.
But it's a respectable salary for somebody that lives in Sri Lanka. With that, that's basically their equivalent. That's their equivalent of working in the UK for, 60 or 70K. Whatever you're paying them there, that's they can make a respectable amount. And I think it is definitely where you are geographically located, because people could leave Sri Lanka and send money back, and they could earn a lot more living in a different country. Yet their job could still be remote. They could still be doing things remotely. I mean, the Sri Lanka team, do they have an office that they go to, or are they all working remotely as well?
Yeah, and so actually we have an office, which is like in the main part of Colombo, in Colombo 3. And so it's quite a high level office. We pay actually more than the market rates because I'd rather be fair. We pay like loads of benefits on top as well to keep them all safe. So it is office based, and they come to the office. Actually, the culture in Sri Lanka, they love coming to the office. And when we speak to them, it's like they prefer to like come in together, work together, be part of a team. But they have got the option to work remotely, but they prefer to come in. And so actually, it's just, they prefer it and they're much more happier. So if they prefer that, then we're happy to go with that. So we just provide them with the space for them to do it and the tools that they need to be able to deliver.
Well, everybody I talk to, they justify it one way or the other. The people that have remote teams, they say the team loves to work remote. And then everybody that has an office, they say my team loves to go to the office. So it's really just what you require is what you're going to attract. Somebody's knowing when they start that they're going to have to go into an office. And then there's all the people that don't work for you that would prefer to work at home. And I'm sure that there's others. I don't know if this is as common in Sri Lanka as it is in Philippines. The Philippines, BPO or business processes outsourcing is a very big part of their economy. Some places they are required by the government to work in an office. I didn't even know that. But there are certain portions of Philippines that require them to go into an office and work, so they don't even have a choice. I'm sure they could do hybrid, but the office and the work, they had a mandate that after COVID mandated going back to the office, and they had a week to get everybody back into the office because that was required by law again.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. I don't know. I'm sure that's not the case in Sri Lanka. And so your outsourced team, Sri Lanka, most of the accountants that you work with that have outsourced there, are they based in UK?
So we have got some in Australia, and I think we've got one in Canada. So, but again, we're outsourcing, but we're sort of kind of focusing on just like one market at a time. But majority are the UK because it's been kind of like people approaching me saying, "Oh, how do you do it? Can you get the same for us?" And I'm like, "Yeah, cool. This is my process. This is what I do." And I've set up a startup practice, like WhatsApp, like a membership group for people who do start up in practice. And then I pretty much give them like my systems and processes, and I help them get up on the ladder and get their practice up and running, and then hire a team member in Sri Lanka because I essentially know like it's really hard to like find your first hire and pay like 50, 60K. And so they have my access to pretty much all of Soaring Falcon.
That's dope. So it's almost like you're starting you got your community. You could start a little franchise. You could franchise these systems out, and you've got the back office team to do that for all these solopreneurs. I see people doing this in the U.S. all the time. There's breakaway bookkeeping. There's all kinds of little franchises that help people get up and running. They're all free to do what they like, right? I don't know. You're a breeding ground for successful independent women. I'm sure your community is filled with a lot of women solo practitioners. Yeah.
Actually, so
That's
I've got
awesome.
one group called Bitches in Practice, which is BIP. And that is just obviously women.
Bitches in practice.
Yeah. That's one
I
group.
love that
have.
name. I didn't know this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's my secret group now. It's no secret. Yeah, so that's one group, which is our female practice owners. And then I've got the startup practice, which is a mixture, but majority of guys, because I think, the market out there is still mainly guys that have practices. I think it's different. It looks like it's changing like over time, but yeah, so two little cool groups.
Well, mindsets have to change for that to change too. And that's why I rebranded. I'm the sons of CPAs, but I realize, that is a little too male centric. That's why we're Accounting High now. At least by the time this airs, it'll be Accounting High. I had these unconfirmed biases, and really it was just literally me and my first co-host were both sons of CPAs. That's where it started.
I thought maybe Scott Serrano on the
pretty
rocks.
cool. So you
might be good. Scott Serrano
on the what?
Do you not had
on
that
the rocks?
Like,
ooh, wow.
Yeah,
all right.
Serrano on the rocks. Have you not had the drink?
So Scott Scarano on the rocks. That's got a ring to it. I might
Sounds good.
I might take you up on that. That sounds dope. Yeah. So you're good with the branding. You got the Soaring Falcon, you got bitches. What is it? Bitches in accounting, or what's the
Bitches in Practice.
Bitches in practice. Yeah. Oh wow. That's practicing bitches. Yeah. Or bitches in practice. Oh wow. I like this. I'm gonna have you be my branding. What's the name of the Sri Lanka firm? Did it already have a name before you got involved, or did you rebrand it?
They did, and I rebranded. So they weren't Easyvolt.
What is it? What do you call it?
It's Smart Offshore now, but it was Easyvolt. And I was like,
Smart Offshore. Okay.
Yeah, Smart Offshore now. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not
I
a fun
dig
name,
Smart
but-
Offshore.
Yeah, I didn't know what Easyvolt.
Well, what do you think of
meant, so-
Accounting High? What do you think of the new name, Accounting High?
I like it, but I think you could be more. I can't think of the word right now, but maybe something a bit more different.
Oh, you think that's a little too generic?
I think that's generic.
You think I could be a little more unique?
Yes.
So I think I
so.
myself am unique. I'm not generic person at all, and the brand needs to. So Sons of CPAs is a little too niche or knit in a word. Like
Niche.
Our audience is 62% male. Niche, yeah. whatever you want to call it. I'm not particular to either one at this point because I've been talking to too many people abroad, and it's niche to all of them. So so the Accounting High is supposed to be generic. The intent is to make it more like high school, but also it's the play on high, the word high. I mean, I don't know if I need to spell that out, but that's where I live in most of my life. It is not 420 here yet. I know it's past 420 for you, but I've not been smoking until 420. But the accounting, that's where Accounting High comes from. But I want to attract a more universal audience. I want to attract more female listeners, more generally speaking. Like, you are not a CPA. CPA isn't worldwide. So I don't want to change the name of that just to make it a little bit more appealing. We have listeners in UK, Australia, and all the other countries. I would like them to see that as accounting is accounting everywhere. That's a general word. So I thank you that you say it's not unique enough, and it's not it's a little too bland. So I thank you for that, because I think that's the intent.
Well, the thing is, like, when you
there.
say like Accounting High, like, I think I would know what you meant, right? Because I remember how you introduced yourself at Accounting Salon and literally like laughed my head off, and that's how I remember you. And it's like, that makes complete sense. But for somebody that's going to look at it and go, oh, that's like Accounting High, they're not going to think what I think.
Well, what are they going to think, though? What would they think?
Just like, it's like a word of like Accounting High, like, oh, counting high or counting high.
Yeah. So the picture might look like a high school, or it might have a branded high school, because I'm still talking about the next generation of accountants. I'm still talking about changing the face of the industry and changing, and I think that that's a bigger metaphor than Sons. So Sons was a change in guard, a new generation of CPAs or new generation of accountants. That was the metaphor that I was driving there. So high school is essentially the same thing. And you were talking about how, early days that you were forced almost to go on your own because they just shut that out. Like, what's the cloud? We don't want to even fuck with that. Like you were driven to be one of the others. And that's how our zero cult is in the US. So the cult of zero in the US is generally the people that started early days cloud, and QuickBooks didn't really exist in the cloud. So, and we've all stuck with zero. Some of us are now like, straddle both zero and QuickBooks because they're very similar now in the US. But when you talk to early cloud adopters, they all know zero. They all saw zero early days, and zero started something different. It was built from the cloud up. I was going to name this above the clouds, right? Because then now we're even talking about other things like process automation and outsourcing and all of these other things beyond the cloud. I was going to call it beyond the cloud or above the clouds. That was a name that I was kind of fond of until I called it accounting high, because also like there's a lot of metaphors with high school that I love to draw into. Everybody went to high school and everybody had that experience. And I think I'm drawing a lot of correlations between what I do in this podcast and how I treat life with high school. So, we're doing all, this is like a variety show too. So it's like different subjects and different topics and different, open up this feed and you don't know what you're going to get too. I'm sure if you listen to this podcast, you're hearing different people, different things, and it's not really just a boring or consistent feed of the same, right?
It's been awesome.
I don't want it to be boring. That's the last thing.
No.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
It's definitely not been boring. No, I've been listening in. They've been amazing.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's the point, right? Like if it's going to keep my attention and I'm not bored, then hopefully, the listeners won't be bored as well. And that's definitely why I wanted to have you come on. That's why, and I don't know if I'm going to call this the Sri Lanka unicorn. I might. I think that was the initial name that I came up with. But so let's also talk about, let's talk about sex. I don't know if that's appropriate here. Let's talk about, do you use that? No. I'm also going to, I'm going to try to weave this into business as well. But this is a natural fact, right? You're an attractive woman in an industry with a lot of men. Do you find that it's easier for you because you have the confidence and because you have that independent streak? Do you find it's easier for you because you don't seem like the type of person that gets offended or is offended of certain discussions or topics. So that's why I'm talking about that now. At least I'm hoping I don't offend you here. But do you use that as a power? I'm sure that is a very powerful thing that you could use in your favor, right?
Oh my God, you're hilarious. I mean, you're right. It's true. There are things that as a female, I could use, but I think the proof is in the pudding. Like if I just rock up and go, yeah, check me out. Then all of a sudden I can say to somebody, I'm going to deliver this, I'm going to get this done. And then all of a sudden I can't, then it's going to show, right? So they're not going to stay with me. They're not going to be that. Yeah, but I'm not going to benefit from it. So I'm just going to have client turnover. It's going to be huge. So essentially, I could use it to my advantage, but it's not really going to get me anywhere because most people actually need an accountant.
I don't think you do it intentionally. And with certain powers comes certain responsibilities. You can make a lot of connections quicker than the next person. And I'm sure I've talked to Nicole about this too. If you're a bubbly, attractive female, you're going to attract a lot of potential mates or people that are going to want to talk to you anyway, right? I mean, Isn't this how you found a lot of your mentors or a lot of your connections? I'm sure, in a way. I know I'm not trying to be offensive either.
No, it's funny though.
Doesn't that play into this? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a lot of guy mates. I mean, for whatever reason, I've got brothers, and I grew up with brothers, and I got loads of guy mates and guy mentors as well. And, like there's a certain point where I know where like, I'm like, okay, this is my situation. This is what I'm trying to achieve. This is my focus. This is my goal. This is where I want to get to. And so it's up to me to sometimes see through that or read between the lines about what people are after from the other side. And so if I start recognizing that, then I then step down and I'm like, well, this is not where I think it's going. So I need to like put a stop to it. But if I see that there's potential and there's genuine, like, there's like business stuff and there's like a genuine business and there's genuine things happening, then I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'm going to like go with that one and I'm going to trust my instincts on that one. So there are situations where, okay,
but
sure.
That must be hard.
Yeah, like sometimes it is, but I think I've just like, become accustomed to this whole situation. So in the early days, I was just like, right, I have to prove to everybody I'm like a really like great accountant and I can do this and I could do that. And like I would cover up, I wear suits and think like, oh, right, okay, I need to be like this like perfect accountant business person. But later on, like I was like, no, I just need to be myself.
Cover yourself up. That's not the Alex I know. Covered up.
Well, obviously I've lived in Bali, so that's not like what you need to wear. But it's essentially like if you're, you should be able to be yourself and be comfortable. Like if you want to wear jeans and a t-shirt, like, it should be fine. So in the end, like I said,
but not in the UK. You can't wear jeans and a t-shirt. You can't wear those kind of outfits in the UK in the winter. You definitely can't.
Yeah, I'm never in the UK in the winter.
Exactly.
Like I promote,
exactly. That's probably intentional, obviously.
Yeah, I promote like digital remote working, digital nomading, even like setting up in Bali, like setting up a study center there, like with FCCA. It's like, you can learn to be an accountant in another country. You don't need to learn to be an accountant in your country. You can go and study anywhere around the world. Like FCCA is global. So, if you want to learn all of that stuff and be digital, you don't need to be in the UK and be freezing cold. Like that's what I do. Like I love, like being in the UK, like and seeing my family. But at the same time, like I'm half Spanish, half Peruvian. Like I'm born to like live by the beach and in the sun. So that's where I feel most happiest. So,
that's in your blood. Yeah.
It's like, I'm just drawn to that side of the world.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell that you're not just like, there's some people that could wield that to their advantage, to their power, and still be strong enough to know the difference. It's finding the balance because you can wear what you want to wear. Nobody's going to tell you otherwise. We were with people that you had never met before, yet you're the most comfortable person in the room and the most outgoing, the most charming. Everybody left there knowing Alex, and you're from across the pond. It's not always like that. You got some people that are a little bit more shy, a little bit more reserved. So I thought
it was awesome to meet everyone, like in real life.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. IRL, right? Like, and this whole like online versus in real life is a real thing. Like, I don't know how tall some people are. I don't know what they really look like based on one picture because you only get that one angle, and so some people are a little bit more sharing, and I think Instagram helps with that, but I'm not on Instagram. So I only see stuff on Twitter or I see like, LinkedIn. And so some people are a lot taller than I thought they were, or that they act in real life. And some people are a lot shorter than they act in online, right? Like, so, so
like Joel, like too. I thought he was shorter.
Joel. Yeah, Joel's a little taller than I would think he was too, because he's Hispanic, and usually most Hispanic people are kind of short.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. I mean, it was hilarious. Like seriously, it was hilarious.
Rachel Fish, we've talked about that too. Like she's over 6 feet, yet I thought she would only be about 5'1".
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. It was amazing.
So what's on the horizon for you? What are you looking forward to the rest of this year?
The rest of the year, probably going to head back to Bali at some point. I've got some amazing events coming up, speaking events that I'm looking forward to.
So Accountex was going on the same time as Accounting Web, where a lot of us salon people went to Accounting Web. You turned around, left salon, and went to Accountex. I don't think you had even planned on going when I saw you at Accounting Salon. So you ended up going to Accountex. Did you speak or do anything there?
No, because I basically like wanted to take some time out. Actually, when I left you guys, I went to Miami. I met these people on the plane,
Oh,
like
wow. Yeah.
the directors, and I was like, they were like, oh, we're going to the Grand Prix. Do you want some tickets? I was like, okay. So basically, I went to the Miami Grand Prix and then came back and then took my co-worker to Accountex because I just wanted to introduce her face-to-face to the accounting partners because we're working on a bookkeeping business in the background.
That's your
So
ops
it's
manager,
important.
right?
Yeah. So another business separate to Soaring Falcon. So basically wanted to introduce her to like all of the app partners and get her to understand how these events work and potential speaking slots and things like that. So yeah, just so it's not just about me. It's like, pushing it on to others.
So you met some people on the plane and went to, was that a race or what was that in Miami?
Yeah, the Miami Grand Prix. So the race. So
Formula One?
Formula One. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I've heard a lot of cool things about Formula One. There's a documentary on Netflix, like F1, that a lot of people were chatting about. I haven't seen that yet, but I've heard a lot of cool things because NASCAR is really big where I live. NASCAR is the big thing. And honestly, that's boring to me. Like I can't watch NASCAR. They're just circling around. But I've heard Formula One is different. There's a difference in that. So that is pretty cool. You just meet people on the plane. I'm sure. Was it a bunch of male businessmen that you met on the plane that gave you the tickets, or was it females?
There were male, but there was a female. But also like the Red Bull after
Okay,
party I was
all
invited
right.
to. And that was a female. So
The Red Bull after party?
Yeah, it was insane.
That's cool. No, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. Yeah.
So like if I don't
But
get out there, I
that
don't get to
opens
meet these cool
doors too
people.
for you, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
but your smile opens the doors for everybody. That's what it is, I'm sure. Opens doors for you. But that's so cool, man. That's like so basically you could decide where you want to go and eventually end up at some place cool wherever you're at. I mean,
Yeah.
there's always something cool going on in any of these cities. And you try to keep it niche, try to keep it accounting. But even if you want to expand your horizons, you could do all these other things too.
I think for me, it's really quite relevant that I go to other countries because I partner with other accountants globally. And when they have like a UK
Sure.
subsidiary that needs to be set up in the UK, then I take care of that UK subsidiary. And that's quite important for me to then have that networking thing overseas. Again, I've got partners in Australia and America and Spain and Germany. And I've got a few clients who have grown globally. And so we were able to then connect them and then we work with those accounting partners. So there is an element where I'm doing like a load of networking in the background.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've been outspoken about all my traveling. All of it's accounting related, and honestly, none of it is directly business related. Yet it's all business related. I've learned more in the few weeks that I've been traveling than I did in a whole year of doing a podcast, and I've learned a lot doing this podcast too. So it's it's getting your head out there, getting your head into the clouds maybe, or above the clouds. So as I like to say, and it's also getting your head out of your own and being part of that community and learning more, because we all can learn from each other and we can all become stronger and better as we grow as individuals and as firm owners, practice owners, whatever you want to call it. I know in life I could learn something from anybody. I could get into a conversation with anybody and get something out of it. It might take an hour for some people because some people are really dull and it's hard to get beyond the surface. Some people it's in the few seconds. But whatever it is, there's always something to learn. So maybe it's selfish to want to always be part of everything and talk to other people and be part of the group. Maybe it's fear of missing out. Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe there's a higher being that we're all tapping into, this whole art of meditation and everything else. Like maybe there's something else there.
Yeah. I mean, I love connecting with other people. Like when I went to Bali, I booked a hotel for 3 days and I was like, look, I'm just going to decide what I'm going to do on the first, after a few days. And on the first night, I went out to this like crazy party, didn't know anybody. And then I bumped into these people behind me who basically said, oh, like we're part of this like entrepreneur circle. like after we got talking. And I was like, yeah, cool, I'll join it. So I joined it and I met up with like another like 100 people of entrepreneurs, digital nomads in that first week. It was insane. Like it was crazy. And then I was networking with other accountants and things like that. And, you know, the circle just got bigger and bigger. And now those people are in different parts of the world. And they're saying, Alex, why don't you come and visit? You know, come to this country, come to this country. And again, it's like opening opportunities, but they're all in different, they're not accountants, but they specialize in what they do. You know, so if they're doing like crypto or they're doing whatever it is or an app or whatever it is, it's like I'm learning about what they do, how they do it, how they go around the world, traveling, working. And I'm just taking the best out of everything. I'll see what they do. What is it about what they do that makes them be able to do that? So to go around the world and to work remotely and to be happy. And I just learn from what they do and go, right, that's potentially what I want to implement in my life. But without going around and meeting people, I would never have seen that. So it is relevant to like,
Right.
you know, come to Florida, meet you guys, understand, learn about your business, how open and honest everybody was at Accounting Salon. Like there were so many takeaways from me. But again, I don't think that happens over a Zoom, but it happened in that close network circle that we had. And it's definitely like that collaborative approach, like helps me grow much faster than it does me sitting at home in the UK thinking, what am I going to do for the rest of my day?
Yeah. Well, you got to allow space to breathe too. I think sometimes these Zoom calls or, you know, that people trying to connect, everybody's trying too hard to get something out of it. And or they're trying to sell something or they're trying to present themselves in a certain way. And it's only when you allow yourself time to really connect with somebody or get to know somebody that you're really going to learn anything. Because everybody's always thinking about something else. And, you know, with these quick Zoom calls, nobody's ever really on the same page. And I've noticed that too. Like, and I try to get there during these conversations. I'm trying to tap into something bigger when the record button's on for the podcast. I may not say everything I'm thinking, but I tend to open my mouth and say whatever's in my head. People can genuinely appreciate some authenticity in life too, and some real conversations, and not just presenting yourselves in the best possible way, because we're all flawed humans at the end of the day. We're all complex beings, right?
Yeah, I agree 100% on that one.
Yeah. Well, leave us with some parting wisdom. I'm going to have to run here in a minute. I've enjoyed this conversation, Alex. Thank you for finding time out of your evening. I guess it's my afternoon, your evening, to join us. Give me some parting wisdom, something that our listeners can remember you by.
Yeah, I guess like getting out there and stepping outside of your comfort zone, getting to know people. And it's something that you are worried about meeting people. It's like, all I can say from my perspective is some of the stuff that I've done, it might sound crazy, but I've met the most incredible people just going out there and not having that fear, and just, you know, just actually ended up growing my business and building my network, and, you know, making friends along the way, friends that I've had in my life for a long time since traveling as well. So from my perspective, it's like, you know, just step outside your comfort zone, get yourself out there and learn what other people do and just absorb what they do and just take the best out of it. That's from my perspective.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. It's uncomfortable sometimes. So maybe if people are out and about and they see you, make them feel comfortable, right? You're a very warm and welcoming person. So if anybody's listening, if you see me or if you see Alex at an event, come talk to us. We'll chat it up with you.
For sure.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Keep soaring. Yeah.
Thanks.